So you're in love with a married man. One moment you're blissfully happy because you've fallen in love with a great man. The next moment you're down in the dumps when you remember that he is married to another woman. The real kicker? You never intended to fall in love with a married man in the first place. Like most things to do with love, it just happens spontaneously. And now you have no idea what to do. Most advice people give you will be generic. Don't date a married man. Leave them alone. But they don't understand the unique relationship that exists between you and the married man and his wife. And before I start, I just want to say this: I'm not here to judge. Your decisions are your own, your life is your own, and everybody's circumstances are different. Love is rarely black and white. So in order to figure out what you can do, here are some things you need to consider if you're in love with a married man. Keep in mind that some of this may be brutal, but I believe it's important for you to hear. Number 1, if you're having an affair with him, can you really trust him? This is an important question to consider. How much does the wife know about your affair? There's clearly deceit going on if she doesn't know anything, and the fact he's lying to his wife should signal a red flag. Put yourself in her shoes, and the picture is painted in a different light. Is it really fair for her? Also, can you really trust everything he is saying to you? When someone can so easily lie about something so big to his wife, then can you trust anything he says? If he were to leave his wife for you, then it's no certainty that he wouldn't do the same thing to you in a few years' time. But maybe it's different. He might truly have a terrible relationship with his wife. Maybe you're his saving grace. But if that's the case, he'd be taking action to be with you officially right now. But he isn't. Don't believe what he says, believe what he does. Also, if he isn't directly lying to his wife about you, then that scenario is obviously different. I've seen marriages kept afloat because of appearances or for their children. What's more, they're very open with each other about seeing other people. This is more common than most people think. If it's agreed with the wife that it's an open relationship and they're both comfortable seeing other people, then maybe he can be more trusting. But if you want a long-term future with this guy, then you need to know how long this is going to last. After all, you might want to get married and have children yourself. So it's important to be honest and open about what you want in the future, and you need to make sure you can trust him. Number 2, are you his first affair, or is this common practice for him? Does he keep saying that he will leave his wife, but he never actually does? If this is becoming a pattern, it might be time to consider that you might not be the first affair he has had. Even if he tells you that you're his first affair, you need to be ultra skeptical. He might even be having multiple affairs right now. I know that might seem unthinkable, but it's important to consider all the possibilities. After all, you are dealing with someone who is cheating on his wife. Remember, trust is extremely important in any relationship, and you need to make sure he can be trusted. And considering he is having an affair with you, he needs to do a lot more than a man usually would to show he is trustworthy. 3, you don't want to sit around waiting forever. How has your relationship gone with him so far? I'm willing to bet that you've been waiting around for him a lot. You can only see him when it suits him. You can't be seen in public together. Unless this affair is just about sex, I know that most women want more than that. You're no exception. You can't sit around forever. You need to move on with your life. Someone better could be just around the corner, and every second that goes by, you're denying yourself the opportunity to meet him. So make sure he knows you're not willing to wait around forever, and that he needs to make a permanent decision sooner rather than later. If he doesn't, you need to respect yourself and leave. Number 4, are you his second priority? You might believe that you're his first priority, but the fact remains. He still has a wife and perhaps even children. Now, unless it's a purely open marriage where they're honest about seeing other people, you have to consider that you're playing second fiddle in his life. Remember, he is already having an affair, so even if he says you're number 1 in his life, you can't really trust what he says. Sometimes you just need to look at the facts. If he has a wife, then you're obviously second priority. Number 5, Does he talk positively or negatively about his wife? This is an important consideration. How does he talk about his wife? While you might think that it's positive if he routinely puts his wife down with snide remarks, but consider that he might treat you the same way in a few years' time. It's actually a better sign if he is still respectful of his wife, but talks about how they've grown apart. But if he is disrespectful and complaining about his wife, then that is something to watch out for, because it shows that he might be a little bit toxic. It also shows he is gutless. He won't make a change, yet he keeps complaining about his wife. Wouldn't you rather be with a doer than a complainer? On the other hand, if he refuses to talk about his wife, then that could be a sign that he feels guilty, and there might not be much of a future for the two of you. 6. Is he going to leave his wife? How long have you been seeing each other now? Has he told you he will leave his wife but never does? On average, most men don't end up leaving their wives for their lover. It's important to consider that the chances are that you won't be an exception to the rule. Marriage is a big deal. There are a lot of settlements and legal issues to work out if he chooses to settle for divorce. Most people just don't go through with it because of the hassle. Even if he tells you he is absolutely miserable in his marriage and that all he wants to do is leave her for you, the chances are he won't. It doesn't matter how convincingly he says it or how many times he says it. Actions speak louder than words. Number 7. He wants to be with you. He would be. When it's all said and done, people will go to the ends of the earth to be with the person they truly love. We can all agree that love is an extremely powerful emotion. If he genuinely loved you, he wouldn't care how costly the divorce will be or how hard emotionally it will be for him to go through with it. He would just do it. If you're not so important to him that he's not willing to change his life for you, then I'm sorry to say, but it's probably not true love. And when you leave, he'll simply replace you with someone else. I mean, think about it. Just say you were married to someone that's making you miserable, and then you met the man of your dreams, someone you're totally and completely clicked with. Would you leave someone you're miserable with for someone that you would make your life infinitely better? Of course you would. It's a no-brainer. Hold him to the same standard. What to do now? Now, I'm sure that some of it was a little bit brutal, but as I've said several times, you need to consider everything. And as you're probably Googling something to do with being in love with a married man, which is why you're listening to this video, then you probably want to change the situation. Here are some things you can do to help you get yourself out of the situation. Number 1, dump him and find someone better. Too simple to be true, right? You've probably heard this countless times from your friends, but it is good advice when you're dealing with a married man. After all, most men end up not leaving their wife for the woman they're having an affair with. And if he was going to do that, he would have already done it by now. The fact of the matter is, you're probably not happy with the current situation. Fair enough, but you need to do something about it. You need to be kind to yourself and do what's best for you. There are plenty of men out there that aren't married, and once you're over this particular guy, trust me when I say it will be clear as daylight that there are more fish in the sea. Number 2, if after all these points you still think you can get your man and it's better off for all involved, then try this. If you still think it's the right thing to get this married man to commit to you after reading all the brutal truths that I've set out here, and you can categorically say that this will benefit everyone involved, his overall happiness, his wife and kids' well-being, then you need a game plan for how you're going to end up happily ever after. To do this, you need to trigger something deep inside him, something he desperately needs. What is it? For him to take action and be with you officially, then he has to feel like your provider and protector for you, someone that you genuinely admire. In other words, he needs to feel like your hero. I know it sounds silly. You're an independent woman. You don't need a hero in your life. And I couldn't agree more. But here's the ironic truth. Men need to feel like a hero because it's built into their DNA to seek out relationships that allow them to feel like a protector. Men have a thirst for your admiration. They want to step up for the plate for the woman in their lives and provide for her and protect her. This is deeply rooted in male biology. When a guy feels like a hero to their woman, it unleashes his protective instincts and the noblest aspect of his masculinity. Most importantly, it will unleash his deepest feelings of love and attraction. And the kicker? A man won't fully commit to a woman when this first isn't satisfied. When it comes to the relationship, he needs to see himself as your protector and provider, as someone you genuinely want and need to have around, not as some sort of fling or friends with benefits. Now, I'd imagine that if you're currently having an affair with him, then you might already be triggering some of this instinct in him. After all, that is probably one of the reasons he is already attracted to you. There's actually a psychological term for what I'm talking about here. It's called the hero instinct. This term was coined by relationship psychologist James Bauer. Now, you can't trigger his hero instinct just by giving him admiration the next time you see him. Men don't like receiving participation awards just for showing up, trust me. A man wants to feel like he has earned your admiration and respect. How? You don't need to engineer a scenario where he has to save kids from a burning house or a little old lady from getting hit by a car. He wants to be your hero, not an action hero. But there are phrases you can say, texts you can send, and little requests you can use to trigger his hero instinct. And because no man can resist a woman who makes him feel like a hero, it's worth learning a few of these emotional trigger points. If you want to learn more about this powerful technique from the man who invented it, then check out James Bauer's short video that I've linked to in the description of this video. Top tip: if you can trigger this instinct successfully, it will drastically increase the odds that this married man will fall in love with you and fully commit. In fact, it could be the missing ingredient to go from a fling to a committed relationship. When a man genuinely feels like your hero, he'll become more loving, attentive, and interested in being in a committed relationship with you. The hero instinct is a subconscious drive men have to gravitate toward people who make them feel like a hero. But it's amplified in romantic relationships. Hack Spirit writer Pearl Nash discovered this for herself and in the process completely turned around a lifetime of romantic failure. You can read her story that I've linked to in the description of this video.